two very different events. The Rally for Life and the Pride Parade. Same location, only 1 week apart, but very different.
Innocent life.
What do all the stripes represent, especially the new ones?
I've forgotten since I was told a year ago.
We asked questions at both events and got very different responses. Responses which reveal a war between two opposing ideologies. What's the most important issue for you?
Abortion.
That life is sacred from the moment of conception.
Repeal the abortion legislation and any anti-life legislation.
That we protect all human life in a country that claims to be a first world country.
To protect the rights of the family.
It's to stand for God, to stand for truth, to stand for life.
And what's the preeminent issue for you today?
Trans rights.
Okay.
Trans rights. Yeah, trans rights.
What's the preeminent issue for you?
At the moment, I think it's to not import anti-trans stuff from places like the United States.
I would say maybe like trans rights, women's rights.
Gay people still don't have a lot of rights. It seems so basic and so natural to just love people and love who you want, and we can't get that, and it seems really dictated by a lot of people, well, not in a bad way, but it's dictated by a lot of straight people, if that makes sense. So,
Roe v. Wade was just overturned in America last week. How does that change the fight here?
Happy days, miraculous, it's so great. Praise the Lord, because it was a total miracle. It shows that actually if we work hard with God's grace, abortion can be made illegal once again.
I think it brings a great hope to Ireland.
How do you feel about that?
Sinn Féin said when it was brought down to the Free State that abortion was thing and the North was next for to bring abortion. Now, Roe versus Wade was overturned in America. It's going to be overturned in the north of Ireland as well.
I think it's definitely given us hope here in Ireland that even though babies can be killed, that it actually can be overturned, and that, you know, through the power of our own voices and also, you know, through the power of just asking God to intercede as well, and that it was definitely a miracle, I think, for Roe v. Wade to be overturned.
It's a huge boost for the pro-life movement across the world, because in Ireland we've been against the ropes. It's been tough the last few years. It just shows what can be done. We can change the laws and we can get abortion banned.
Roe v. Wade was just overturned yesterday.
Yeah, disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful.
It was really heartbreaking to see that, you know, we should actually be progressing forward, but instead we are going back decades.
I think it's ridiculous. I think women should be allowed to have abortions. Women and pregnant people should be able to have abortions whenever they want.
Women and pregnant people should be
Disgusted, yeah. Like, scared. Actually.
Scared. Why do you feel scared?
I feel it's a step backwards, and although we're different nations, America has a huge influence on the West, and seeing things like that happen in America can feel like there might be ripple effects otherwise.
It's like already a scary thing if you find out you're pregnant, especially if you're trans or non-binary or just not a person who identifies and you're in that system.
It was overruled by like 9 people, I think, they're all older, the majority of them are men. Like, it feels almost dystopian, and it's just so disheartening to hear that, like, it feels like we've like devolved almost, like we were progressing, and there was that thing of like reconsidering same-sex marriage after only 7 years in America.
Horrendous. It's not the way it should be doing it. It's women's rights, women's bodies.
Women's rights, yeah. I mean, it's taking you back 100 years.
It's an absolute retrograde step for America, liberty in America. I believe that it's the start of a huge rollback. What's next? Gay marriage is going to be struck down?
Right. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows, right.
America, supposedly the land of the free and the home of the brave, has overturned this most basic right. Deaths. Yeah, and that's what, it's terrible.
I think it's a tragedy. Like, America's going back in time. Like, it's ridiculous. I know Ireland was very late to adopt it, but like the fact that it's going through in so many countries and America has decided to overturn it, like, I honestly felt sick yesterday reading the headlines.
Well, how do you feel about the Roe v. Wade decision being overturned yesterday?
I think all of us here, especially with People for Profit, we're absolutely disgusted. We're extremely disappointed. It's been a very, very dark day. There's a huge overlap between repeal and abortion rights activists and the LGBTQ community. It's absolutely essential to bodily autonomy, sexual autonomy, reproductive rights. It's like we're saying, it's the exact same struggle, the exact same fight. And, we have more than just one identity. Our identities aren't fixed, they're not solid, and we are all directly impacted by this.
Yeah, abortions are trying to push the 12-week limit all the way up, at least to the second trimester. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like, they're just ignoring science completely. We know the unborn baby feels pain. We know their heart beats about, 21 days.
From a minute of conception, that baby has a right to be born.
No abortion, full stop.
They're fighting against the facts of science, of reality. But
abortion should always be illegal because it ends the life of an unborn child. It ends the life of a beating heart.
If you take a look at any videos on the internet of actual abortion procedures, from 4 weeks to even 7 months, there's instances where the baby is literally fighting for its own life, fighting to survive.
I think women should have the right to choose.
It depends on the individual and the individual case.
Well, in the UK it's 24 weeks, and that's for loads of different reasons.
In New York and Virginia, it's all the way up till birth and slightly after birth. What do you think about that?
It depends on the case. You can't comment until you're in that situation.
Some cases are more urgent, more stressful.
To be honest, I think 12 weeks is way too low. The whole rule of what is counted as life and what isn't, I feel like it's there purposely to bog people down and kind of distract from the actual issues.
There should be no term limits, and it should be up to them to decide.
So no term limits?
Yeah.
How do you see the family and its role in society today?
Family is 100%, although today I think it's being broken.
Marriage is one of the core tenets of all societies, and I think marriage is sacred. It's been given to us as a gift, and I think if we were to see marriage be dissolved, I think it would have a huge impact on how children are raised, and it would really negatively impact our society as a result.
Well, how do you see the role of the family today?
It's under attack, really.
Yes.
We feel threatened, actually.
Yes.
Again, they said about schools. We're very concerned about what they're learning. Schools and the government are trying to make a godless nation. And that's their biggest fear, really, that to eliminate God from the equation.
And Our Lady of Fatima, Sister Lucia said that the greatest attack is on the family.
We see more and more because there's no father, because people aren't getting married. Women don't have that security. So if a man is there and a woman are there and there's a baby and they're in the security of marriage, of course, they're so much more open to life because the woman feels secure and also they've committed to one another and they're open to life. So living by the teachings of the Catholic Church is the way forward.
What do you think the role of the family is here in Ireland?
I think the role of the family should be challenged. I think it should be dissected and challenged because I think the family has so much importance for so long, but I don't think we look at how it's a difficult institution that causes a lot of harm as well.
Okay. Do you think something like marriage should be abolished?
What, something like marriage? Yeah, why not?
So what do you think of some activists pushing for being able to marry animals, dogs, computers? What do you think about that?
Again, when it comes to all of these things, it's whether someone wants to marry or not. People should have the freedom to do that.
Explore everything, right? You need to be really creative, and sure, it's far-fetched, but these ideas should be discussed and debated because some things that are far-fetched today might become common tomorrow, right?
The big issue in America is transitioning. How young do you think children should be able to transition?
I think whenever they're ready, whenever the child and the parents make the decision for them and they feel comfortable to do it. I think being gay myself, I knew from when I was 11 years old, so I think they should be able to do it when they're ready and when they know.
So 11 could be a good age?
Yeah, if somebody feels comfortable with it.
Very individual, yeah. Some children are quite determined at a young age, and others perhaps takes them longer to figure it out. Well, obviously with proper counselling and guidance.
I mean, if I had a kid and they were 2 or 3 years old and they were a boy and they wanted to wear a dress, I'd leave them go ahead.
How young do you think children should be able to transition?
I don't think children should be transitioned at all. It's completely wrong. The Lord has created us male and female.
It's really changing a child's gender at a young age. That's really child abuse.
They should never be able to transition because that's a heinous crime, and that's probably one of the most violent forms of child abuse today.
It's terrifying, because you don't know what they teach the children completely. I have, nieces and nephews, they have the sex education now, they're only 5 years old. And the transgenderism, it's just complete, utter, nonsense. They should be teaching the children what they really are, which is boy and girl. They keep messing up with their minds, making them confused. And they're trying to separate them from their families, their parents. So yeah, it is frightening.
They've already conducted studies that I think 8 in 10 kids who have gender dysphoria when they're prepubescent to pubescent end up actually growing out of it. So for me, it's actually wrong. Plus, I mean, you can take a look at any transgender statistics. I think 50% of post-operation transgender people end up committing suicide. So for me, transgenderism, it's a big issue, not even to do with children, but people in general.
What age do you think children should be able to transition?
So, as someone who's very genderqueer myself, I feel making them kind of suffer for the next 5-6 years of their life just being unable to transition is, I think that's very cruel.
How young do you think children should be able to transition?
Well, speaking from experience, when I was a teenager, I believed I was transgender, actually. I didn't grow up in a household with faith or learning about that kind of stuff. And when I was 16, I really believed that I wanted to be a man. And if I was allowed to make that decision, I don't know if I'd still be here today. So I'm really thankful that I wasn't allowed to make that decision when I was 16, a decision that is so radical, that changes your life and changes your body irreparably.
What are the biggest obstacles do you think the LGBT movement is having today?
Old white men.
Proper representation of trans people in the community. Our national broadcaster here was dropped from being the major one of the contributing companies, because they didn't show proper representation of Pride in just the last 2 weeks.
We were all brought up Catholic, whether we like it or not. Catholic Church doesn't support gay rights in any way, or LGBT community, and that is the underlying force in Ireland. My upbringing was Catholic, and that's still in the background of whatever I do, whether I like it or not. It's just part of my DNA, I suppose.
Ireland being a Catholic country, I think there is there's a section of people who still do not accept these kind of things. They think it's not right.
There's a lot of subtle homophobia. So people aren't out loud with it, but there's sly comments made and stuff, which I think we just as a society need to move past.
I think the problem with the church is not that it's very prevalent in people's lives, but it's very prevalent in a select few people's lives, and those people are in government. And that's where the church is coming into play. It's from the government.
I know we voted in gay rights and gay marriage in the last few years. I think it's part of me thinks that's great, and it is great. It's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But it's part of me that fears that it's done because it's the right thing to do rather than fully accept it. And I'm not entirely sure that full acceptance is there yet.
In primary school, say at 12, 13, children should be introduced to all the diversity that's around us, and not be afraid of it, and to respect it, and that's it really.
This kind of stuff needs to be done more often, needs to be normalised.
What's your end goal?
It's to stand up for life and to say that yes, our culture has become a culture of that, but there's so many people in Ireland who still believe that life is sacred from the moment of conception, and we have to keep marching and we have to keep praying.
And we are looking forward to actually to be changing things in Ireland, to be changing the attitude towards the unborn.
My end goal is to see abortion illegal once again in Ireland, for Ireland to be once again a place of saints and scholars, a place where every baby, every human being is respected and their life is upheld.
So we're all going to march now today and show that we're pro-life and we're Catholic. So across all the issues, we have a Catholic morality.
These events propose two opposing worldviews. One fights for moral values, while the other tramples on those values. One loves God and keeps his commandment, and the other promotes vice and the culture of death. Please share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. St. Patrick, pray for us.